Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Over the last few weeks, maybe a couple months, I don't know what days, and anyways, we've taken to Zoom. We've gone to all different parts of North America, bringing in guests. But today, we bring it back to Brooklyn, to my neighborhood, Winter Terrace, highlighting a couple really amazing people here in the community that have done some fantastic things. So basically, since since quarantine and we all had to stay at home, everybody became an overnight live streaming sensation. We took to Instagram Live, Facebook Live, Zoom exploded. But both of my guests today are people that have either careers in live streaming previously or have utilized it currently with great effect, done some really spectacular things, and helped people along the way, as well as helping themselves, which is, I think, this is just part of what we have to be right now, what we have to do going forward. And to that effect, the quote of the week, which comes from, we will be dealing with some, hearing about some artists and some musicians today. This is a lyric from the very first vinyl album I got, I believe. It was Christmas of 1986, and it was Raising Hell by Run DMC. Once again, bringing it back to the NYC, Hollis, Queens in the house. A little lyric from a track called Is It Live? I got quality and skill beyond belief. Do I steal? Be for real. I'm not a thief, dictator and hater of those that beef. That's right. And I can fight because I'm the chief. Good bit of confidence. We all need a little bit of that these days. We need to know that we can handle what's going on. We need to be able to face these issues that we're dealing with in our lives and in our communities, and we got to do it head on. And I think that was just a great lyric. It's something that has stuck with me. Again, I was probably like 9 years old when I got that album, and I've never forgotten that lyric. It's always been with me. With that, I would like to introduce my first guest today. He is the CEO and founder of First Tube Media. It is a full-service live stream content platform that makes it turnkey for brands to execute innovative sponsorship programs that delivers brand-owned tune-in moments, resulting in scaled consumer engagement and clear ROI. He's also been involved in Yahoo and Xtol and a bunch of other things. With that, Andrew Berenbaum. Andrew, are you here with us?
Yeah, what's up, Jeremiah? How you doing, man?
Good. And yourself?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Can you give everybody a little background on yourself? I gave a little brief intro here, but I didn't want to spill the whole beans. Give you a chance to talk. I think I've said enough.
Yeah. So a little background. Born and raised in New York. Moved out to California right after graduating University of Maryland with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wonderful wife.
Awesome.
And we spent 15 years out in the Bay Area, and that's kind of where I got my chops around kind of being an entrepreneur in digital marketing and kind of getting into that ecosystem. Both Lauren and I both started our careers. I was at Yahoo really early on. I actually know this. I'm the 401st employee ever at Yahoo because it was the number on your paycheck. My first day, it was my second day at Yahoo. Jerry Yang went up and congratulated the 400th employee and gave him a trophy and told the guy that it meant nothing, that he's the 400th employee, as a joke. And he happened to be the guy that was standing in front of me when I was registering into the company the day before. And so I could have been 400 and gotten that trophy. I was 401. So I was just sitting in the back and kind of thanking my stars, because it was like my first job I ever had, really, in the corporate world. From living in the Bay Area for a long time, got into the early internet and startup ecosystem. And, after Yahoo, I've been part of a variety of startups, some that I was just really early employee on. And then I've been a founder, basically since 2004, I guess it is, if I think back, 2003. And I've created 4 companies since then. And First Tube Media is kind of came out of consulting practice of where I was just kind of pretty out of all the kind of the landscape of digital marketing, I understand customer acquisition pretty well. Mm-hmm. And knowing how to kind of drive kind of that lower funnel value of digital marketing. And I was a friend of mine asked me to run marketing for the Grateful Dead's Fairly Well tour 4 years ago. And it was kind of the 50th anniversary. It was kind of this dream gig. I'm a huge fan of that music. And also the lead guitarist was Trey from Fish. He was kind of, He's one of the only men I have a significant man crush on. And yeah, it threw me into music at a high level. Just kind of learning the industry, from that opportunity. It was a really exciting time. And, we broke the record for most pay-per-view sales ever for a music event. And out of that, First Two Media kind of started to get born as I started to ask a lot of questions about, why things weren't done this way or this way, as come from a marketing lens, why brands couldn't do this or that. And I heard a lot of no's. So then I thought that there was an actual opportunity there to kind of create something. And so that fast forward that to where we're at now, it's been kind of a pretty crazy ride, obviously, with kind of where live streaming is sitting today.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that about the no's and seeing the opportunity. That's really, like, from all the people that I've talked to about entrepreneurship, whether they were on the show or just, talks in the street, that's like one of the number one things. Like a no, like there's sometimes no means no. We all know that. But like when an industry basically is just like, no, you're like, yeah.
And that's typically the way it works, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur, you hear the word no a lot, right? It's
big time.
Yeah. You hear no 98, 99% of the time, but that 1% is your driver, right?
Yeah.
And then hopefully that grows percentage points. And, that's kind of how we are with where we're at now at First Two Media is, I'd say 3 years ago when we said, hey, live media needs to be something that all CMOs think about. I'd say 5% of the most savvy CMOs had that on their mind, 3 years ago, and kind of understood what we were saying to them. And that percentage has been slowly growing as the market's been growing. And then suddenly March slams down, and I think we'll see that go from 5% to 90%, here, as we progress here. I think it'll be top of mind for everyone. So we're kind of in an interesting time for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I was flipping through your site earlier this week and noticed there was a lot of musical acts. I wasn't sure how the musical connection came, but that was really, you got your springboard with the Dead tour, and and that's been a large focus of it. And it makes sense that musicians are trying to get. I actually studied music. I have 2 music degrees.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I was a freelancer for quite a while, and this is pre-live streaming days.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's just, I'm a passionate fan of music, but, as I dug into the business and had a lot of friends in the business, artists were obviously not making money off of albums anymore. And then the streaming platforms kind of were, making the promise of a revenue opportunity, but by and large, artists were forced to tour more than ever, perform live more than ever, as to kind of make a living and progress. And, we saw just from a marketing landscape, we saw this kind of native influencer marketing, branded content, video content, all those from a macro were just accelerating, right? Video as a format was accelerating faster than ever. Influencer marketing, native advertising, how do I create authenticity was accelerating more than ever. And so we saw this opportunity to really bring these branded video content dollars as a new revenue stream to artists. And that was kind of the premise of the initial part of the business was like, hey, there's a new revenue stream here. We can be the streamlined platform to do that. And it feels good. We've paid out, millions of dollars to emerging artists over the last few years. And, we're hoping for that to significantly grow out. And it's more important than ever right now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And that's what I was going to ask next is what do you kind of see in terms of the future for that? Because even small venues, and I've got a few friends in Nashville. That's where I'm originally from. And, that's a very music-centric city. And they've actually started to open venues back up, small ones. And, they're limiting the amount of musicians that can be on stage. They're limiting the amount of people that can watch. So you might get back into small venue kind of operation soon, but that really doesn't bring in any money. That's often a loss.
The music business is very cutthroat as being an independent promoter. And I'm sure your friends share that. And, a lot of the independent promoters are our friends. And the independent venue is at risk right now. And it's scary, because that's, for me, I love music, but that's where I want to watch music as a fan.
Exactly.
I don't want to go to Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. So, it's very important for these guys to get through this time. But their math is tight. They make money by selling alcohol.
Yeah.
They don't make money, and And this is being a restaurant owner, like
that's a tough racket too.
Yeah, but if you don't have enough people coming through the door to buy beer, your P&L is not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone's trying to get to a place of normalcy. I don't see it happening for this year. It's opening up new business models that didn't make sense 3 years ago. It's really a pay-per-view model, right? The pay-per-view model, a ticketed digital event, didn't make sense for anybody unless the band was called Fish, or the Grateful Dead primarily, or that genre, right? Because the fan base is rabid and the show is different every time, right? But that's changed. I think we are seeing an influx of kind of these, that model being attached for independent venues and artists, and seeing if it's some way to kind of at least stopgap some of the bleeding. And so that's one of the things that's happening right now. And obviously what we do from a branded content kind of sponsor support standpoint is another avenue.
So I last week I just had a couple musicians on to talk about kind of what scenario they were in right now. One was in LA and one was in Pittsburgh, and both very active. And one of the gentlemen, he's in a touring metal band, been very successful. They're on the Ipecac label. That's Mike Patton. They're supposed to go on tour with Faith No More later this year. And they were talking about kind of going back to the 1980s music video model, where you're actually performing in a venue, but there's no crowd, but you're live streaming that way. Is that what you were referring to just a moment ago, where the venue is getting some money and the band?
Yeah, I mean, that could be one scenario. I mean, we just did a show in Nashville, actually. It was Lady Antebellum in a venue. It was a whole band, 8-piece, and everyone was 6 feet spread apart.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly my crew in there, but there was probably, I think, 10 fans they let in. It's not a scalable model, for that. Yeah. And so the idea of building a toll booth digitally and creating a revenue stream, I just got off a call talking about actually this entire thing with it's really, is there another movement for digital promoters really? And, is that a business? I think it is in the next short term. I think it's TBD on the long term. I think ultimately fans want to see live music, and
yeah.
I think, where we position ourselves is we believe every live kind of brand live sponsorship should have a digital extension to it. And that was what our premise or our business was before this all happened. There's other technologies. YouTube launched something called Super Chat, allowing fans to be able to tip artists as they're performing. It launched just about a month ago. It's pretty interesting. It was very successful as a technology that was in China for about a year and a half. They finally released it out to a lot of their creator community. And so there's a bunch of different things that are out there. Obviously the Patreons of the world is another kind of platform that creates scale on subscription side. And so they're all thinking about this stuff. Some of it's just education for the promoters, right? I mean, these guys are bar owners, they're music experts. And so there's just this gap in education, and, it's interesting to see them all kind of sprint and figure things out, but hopefully that the federal government will come in and provide some support there. God knows that one. We could talk an hour about that one.
Yeah, I don't have my fingers crossed on that one on so many fronts.
Yeah.
And you did make a good point that in the short term, everything's like Band-Aids right now, right? I mean, it's the same for the restaurant industry. Like all of us are if all of us that are open are just operating on the takeout model right now, which isn't going to work forever, for sure. And then there's going to be this interim period where people maybe can come inside or maybe only eat outside, and it's going to phase in and out. And then if there's another spike in cases, then what happens? But we're hopefully looking at in a year or two, we can kind of get back. So these guys are going to have to switch gears, just like restaurants are in the interim, to just, and get, like you said, get educated, get smart, because who knows when this shit's going to happen again, right? Or what's going to happen again? Like what economic situations are going to come of this, that maybe it's not coronavirus in 6 months, but now all of a sudden, nobody has any money. Then how do you do it, and getting really creative with the model that way. It's hopefully it is temporary, but I like the idea of just quick burner education, trial by fire, make something happen, but keep your eye on the prize and just you got to keep chugging along with this stuff.
Yeah, and it's been fun for us, in ways that, we've always been the very premium side of the market because our clients are brands, and so just seeing the DIY approach and people being, the entrepreneur in me is loving watching people try to do stuff and be creative, make stuff happen, and it's been a really interesting to watch.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in about 1 minute. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.